the reward of it. It makes no sense.
For the type A personality.
That's right. Reward the. Are you ready? Can I go? Okay. All right. So I can't remember the name of the class, but I know that it's about it's about growing in a way that's successful with longevity, sustainable.
Best practices to keep growing long after the inspiration phase.
There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, good. Yes, certainly. All right, so I wanted to ask, just before we begin, who here is in this class because they want to know tools for themselves, and who here is in this class because they like to help other people? If you're in it for your own growth, and you can put your hands up twice, it's also fine. Okay, and if you're in it to be able to facilitate other people? Great, so same class anyway. I just wanted to know what the audience is. That's fine, okay. All right, so I'm going to start off with a, I don't mind at all. It'll be on Torah anytime anyway, but you're welcome to. Yeah, I'm going to start off with a question that'll set a little bit of a context for what we mean by growth. Because if we start defining growth, we're going to be here forever anyway. And it means something different to different people, and that's fine. And the context of the growth is different. Some people it's personal, for some people it's organizational, for some people it's on the character traits, some people it's religious. I'm not going to determine what your growth is. That's really your call, and it'll be different at different stages in your life. But the idea of moving from one place to the next and keeping that going is always challenging. So that's what we're going to be focused on. So listen carefully and tell me who do you think in the following scenario is the quote unquote better person? Now, before you get worrying about judging anybody, I'm making it up, okay? So it's academic, it's not really judgment, it's just a hypothetical question. Okay, first person comes Friday night, the two women in the scenario, okay? This woman lights her Shabbat candles and then goes to the movies, okay? Person number two lights her Shabbat candles and then goes to the movies. Who is higher and who is lower?
You just said the same thing twice.
I know.
Drunk from last night.
So I'm going to go with yes.
Yes. The answer is always free will right now. So really, person A or person B? Who's higher, who's lower?
What you said first would be higher?
Maybe, maybe not. So you really can't answer the question because you... Okay, so let's put some context in on this. And again, even with the context, this isn't really true. It's a very simplified model, okay? Person A, it's the first time they have ever done their Shabbat candles. Person B, it's the first time they've ever broken Shabbat. Okay? Now, by the way, you still can't judge. Obviously. But in our simplified model of a non-real people, how does the story change now? Story changes, right? Why?
One knows right from wrong if she broke it.
Perhaps, maybe somebody's in pain. We don't know the story over here, but we do know.
We do know
Yes.
one person just took a step up. And on the slip
Forward.
Right.
Yes.
roll up.
Yes, in the simplified model, that's right. That's right.
Okay, and one person just took
Yes. Now, in real life, it may not even be that way. It may be that the person who's taking the step up is rushing and trying to impress their friends, and this isn't healthy. The person who's taking the step down is actually being more authentic with what their needs are. So in real life, we could make it the judgment. But in our simplified model, the only person you can compare your growth to is where you are now. Where you are now. Okay? So and that's a judgment you can make on yourself. It's not a judgment you can make on other people. It's a judgment you can make on yourself. So whatever the context of the growth is, we're looking at growth as wherever I am I taking a step forward or am I taking a step back? And again, it's true that your step forward may be my step back. But in my own judgment, am I moving forward or moving back? That's the question. Okay? Now, a lot of people, especially when they're growing religiously, get a very big complex, about like getting there. getting there, that awful place full of wigs. Will I ever get there? There is no there, because you are always asking yourself the question, am I moving one step forward or am I moving one step back? There is never a there. It's a circular experience. You never really reach an end point. You are the revolving axis of your judgment, and you're only ever comparing yourself to yourself. Okay, so there is a myth. I have to say, having said that, my line of work, I work with students and marrieds also, but I've been working with students for a long time, and it's a tremendous pleasure to watch people growing. It's also incredibly embarrassing for me, I have to say, because I see these people who are making these gigantic steps. Like, I was just in shul, yesterday. She's not here, so I can say, she'll kill me. But I saw a student who never saw a siddur in her whole life, breaking her teeth over reading the words one by one. And I thought to myself, I haven't done anything that great in years. It's like embarrassing.
No, Kira is amazing.
It's an embarrassing. It is humbling and privileged thing to be involved with people who grow, and everybody who's in this room is, may not be succeeding in their growth, or maybe, but they want to be succeeding in their growth. So that's, everybody hands up in the air.
What was the question?
Put your hands up in the air.
Did you say Simon's?
Pat your backs. Okay. We need to do that once in a while. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what works and what doesn't. You'll apply it in your own lives. And I really would like you to ask you to be confident enough that if what I'm saying to you doesn't apply to you, feel free to ignore it, because you know yourself better than I do. But I'm going to give you some general principles. I believe some of them at least will be helpful, hopefully many. Okay, so let's take a look at how growth works. And we're really going to do this on the following model. This is a model that I use in many of my classes. I actually use it in my singles dating class most of all, but I want to use it in our growth class. It's going to be called the IEP model. Okay, intellect, emotion, and physical. All right. And we're going to be using as our examples food. Okay, we're going to be using as our examples food. I always tell my students that are battling to keep kosher, it's absolutely clear to me that God threw me into a family that already keeps kosher, because I'm such a foodie. I would never have been able to give up non-kosher food had I had it. And any of you who've done that, total kudos. That is a huge thing. Like, I can't even give up gluten. I don't know how shellfish should have gone down. Apparently it's delicious, but so big kudos to that. But we're going to be talking a little bit about food and the changes that you make. Some from experiences that I've had, and many from my students' experiences, and we'll see how it goes. So, what is the key to sustained growth? What do you think, in your experiences, what's worked for you? Yes?
Knowing what is closest to the Torah.
Okay, just knowing.
Well, just knowing that, for instance, that eating kosher food feeds your soul.
Okay, so
knowing that
right.
Makes me more aware of what I eat.
Okay, great. So information is helpful. Yes, because it reorients you to what's right and what's wrong, and where you should be thinking. Yes, yes?
Taking smaller steps and not trying to lead to.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Surrounding yourself with like-minded people or people.
Yes. Community. Right. Absolutely. Huge. Very good. Long-term goals. Yes. Yes.
Having purpose.
Having purpose.
Doing it for
Yeah. Having some form of reason. Okay. Yes.
I review my notes and just kind of go over it and over it
to
remind myself what I've learned.
The self-brainwashing experience. Yes. Exactly. Your education. Very good. Okay. When has anybody here made a really big change in their life at one point that they've managed to maintain? What was the moment that made that a reality for you?
Well, it was a personal moment. There was we were towing the line. So you speak of circles, and I was just thinking more in terms of lines.
Yeah.
But we were towing the line of how we're gonna, become more observant. And
Yeah.
my husband was in a bad accident, and he walked away without a scratch.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
the way that he
Yeah.
walked into the trees,
Yeah.
the way he walked out.
Yeah.
And I just said, if that wasn't the hand of God,
Yes.
literally holding him, taking care of him, then
Yes.
there's no other sign. So, right then and there, we just
Yes.
stepped over the line and just became Shomer Shabbos.
That's amazing. Was that intellectual for you or emotional for you?
Emotional.
Emotional. Okay, very good. For most people, they may have a lot of information that is coming their way, but the moment that helps them take a step from one piece to the next is when something hits them. Okay, now it could be something intellectual that hits them, but that hitting is not purely informational. I would call that an insight-based moment, where something hits you and just something totally changes. How do we create those moments? How do we create wanting something?
Mindfulness.
Huh?
Mindfulness.
Okay, good.
Effort.
Effort. But how do you create the desire to want? I had a friend who lost a lot of weight, and my husband was struggling with weight loss. For those of you who know him, he's lost a lot of weight. And I said, what?
Desire.
Yeah, that's right. And I said to him, what did you do? And he's like, yeah, doesn't, it's kind of irrelevant. I'm like, no, I want to know. What was the diet? What did you eat? And he didn't want to share it with me. And I kind of pushed him on it. I'm like, why aren't you telling me what you did? He said, because it will make no difference unless you really want it. Okay, yeah, unless you've realized that I've hit a point that I really, really want something. Yes.
I think it's like you can understand something to be a fact, but
Yes.
until you really believe that it's true,
Yes.
it won't. Like when you lose weight,
Yes.
I've gone through that process.
Right.
You absolutely have to believe that the thing that that has to change when you want to lose weight is the food that you put in your mouth. It has not.
Right.
With a little bit of exercise, but
Right.
mostly, like you have to believe it's the food and not the other thing.
Yes, but it's interesting. It's a piece of information. It's an informational process that will then hit it and transform into a state of wanting. Right? You have lots of information until something in you says, I feel this going through from my head to my toe. Then information is lovely. It's learning, but it doesn't necessarily become enough of a impetus for real change. Real change needs to have your emotions bought into. Okay? And the question is, again, how do we create a wanting for something? Yes?
So I was obviously being here this weekend, inspiration is
Yes,
huge.
yes.
So seeing something and experiencing it.
Yes.
For me, Shabbos,
Yes.
like experiencing Shabbos, not just this one.
Yes.
When you have it and it's not what you thought it was going to be, and it's
Yes.
beautiful, and
That's right.
and you walk away and like, wow, I want that. I want more of that.
That's right. And at that moment, you felt that something. Had you not felt that feeling, then the beautiful experience would have been irrelevant.
Yeah, because if I explain what I did to someone
Yeah.
else, it'd be like 25 hours.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Okay. So we have a situation where information is helpful in the creation of insight. Okay? When I hear people saying, I really don't want to learn because if I learn, I'll know what I'm supposed to be doing and then I'm going to go to hell for the things that I'm not doing. And no. That's not how it works. Okay? That's not how it works. We're all in process. We can't possibly reach a critical moment in our process unless we give ourselves a journey through our minds to our insights. Don't worry about what you've learned that you're not keeping. You can't really reach insight unless it could be an experience, it could be information, but there is a process that takes you to the point of insight, and we want to be engaging in that. Learning is huge. Learn and don't do. That's fine, because learning will give you a chance of changing your orientation or your understanding to the point where something makes sense that you might want it. I've heard so many people say, oh yeah, I'm not watching that documentary. I'm going to become a vegan if I watch that documentary. What does that mean? I understand that if I really understand this, it's going to make me want to change, and I've already decided that I don't want to change, so I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I want to change. Which really makes no sense, because if you want to, then you want to, right?
Then you're living in comfort.
That's right. So we start this whole journey not on somebody else's inspiration, but by giving ourselves some form of education, whether that's, you have to know who you are, whether that's through immersion or through experience or conversation or learning, that's a personal thing. But in order to reach a point where this means enough to you that you want the growth to happen, you have to set yourself, based on who you are, on a journey to be able to reach that point. Somebody else's moment is not going to touch you. It's got to be your moment. Right? Somebody else's moment is not enough. Okay? But here's the important part. What people then do is they either by accident have these moments or they bring themselves to these moments, and then they forget the very next part. And we're on the body soul retreat, and I really want to spend more time talking about the next stage than this stage. They forget the body. Okay? They forget the body. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? Okay, so let's go back to our food example.
Talking about like physical limitations.
They leave the body out of the process. I've had this moment, this is what I need to do, I'm going to do it. Okay,
Well,
so.
you have to continue, it has to be a sustained act.
Okay, all right.
Because if you start it, then stop it.
But you have to recognize that your body is a partner in this world, and it has to come with you on a journey. I'll explain what I mean, okay? So you finally watch the documentary, okay? And you've had that moment of, wow, if I eat another cow, we're all gonna die, okay? And you commit as of tomorrow morning to being vegan, yes? No, obviously our Jewish audience, you're looking at me like, what are you talking about, okay? So what do I say to myself? Well, how do I normally eat? Well, normally I have like a turkey sandwich in the morning, and then I have a burger at lunch, and then at dinner I have a steak and fries. Great, so now I have to take the meat out. So what does that mean? I'm having 2 slices of bread and some lettuce in the morning, okay? I'm having a bun with some ketchup at lunch, okay? And then maybe I'll have myself a double fries, okay? What happens? First day, did it. Woohoo! So cool, okay? I've saved the planet. Yeah. What happens day 2 and day 3? You're going to eat your children because you're so hungry. Okay? You understand? If you are depriving your body is going to have an enormous tantrum. There are some people who do very well depriving their body because they are disciplined enough to deprive their body, okay? That's unusual. It's not even always necessarily healthy. There are some types that are like that. You don't have to become that type. Some people just pull that off. But for most of us, if we're going on a journey towards growth and we leave our bodies behind, our bodies are going to tantrum on us and it's not going to work. So once I've had this moment of inspiration and I recognize I have to change the way that I eat, what do I do now? Yes, okay? I have to not just educate myself for what I want, I have to look at my body as a partner in this because my body is a partner in my life. And I have to recognize that here's how the body works. It's like a small child. They do like discipline and structure, but they don't do well with deprivation. So you have to bribe your body to come with you on the journey. What does it mean if you're changing how you eat to bribe your body? It means that you have to recognize that the moment that you start experiencing hunger, what? Oh, okay, that's fine. The moment that I thought you were disagreeing with me. I'm like, speak up. It's fine, okay. The moment that you start really experiencing hunger, you're now doing a very stupid thing. You're giving yourself a war between your own free will and your body's needs. Your survival instinct should not let your free will win. Okay? Because a hungry body is going to tantrum until you feed it. And if you look into the fridge and all you see is last week's meat that you've decided not to eat, okay? It's not going to last very long. So what do you have to do? Yeah, you have to recognize that if you now moved into a vegan farm where there were like massive buffets of amazing food all day long, your body wouldn't mind. On the contrary, your body would be quite happy to be cleansed because it would enjoy the feeling of not having the meat in it. But it's got to be a partner in the plan. If it's not a partner in the plan, it's going to revolt against the plan, and then it's your free will against your body. And again, in a normal, surviving, healthy person, that's not going to be enduring. I was trying to change some food. You know, I mean, I don't. Men, do you agonize over diet as much as women do? I mean, yes, some do, some don't. I know my husband does. I don't know if everybody does. But this is how my week begins. Okay, my week begins with, it's Sunday morning. I've eaten too much. This week will be the week. Okay, put your hands up if you relate.
After this
Everybody
weekend,
relate. Yeah. Okay, all right. This week will be the week, and I wake up in the morning. Okay, and it's usually like my shower pep talk, and I am preparing for what I am going to deprive myself of all this week, and I'm so excited about this. Yes. Primarily because I'm not yet hungry. Okay, and I have this amazing list of what my menu is going to be for the day. For about 25 minutes, okay? And then the next time I'm like, that's okay, get back on the horse, we can do this again for about... So every morning I successfully keep to my diet plan for about 25 minutes, okay? And that's been the pattern. And I had an amazing insight that I'm going to share with you, which is that what I do when I do this is I ask what I'm going to deprive myself of. And one day I said, you know, there comes a point where if you've been doing something unsuccessfully for like 20 years, you've got to admit failure, you know. You've got to face the facts at some point over here, you know. So I decided to change something, and it felt a bit strange. But I asked myself a brand new question that I have never asked myself before. I asked myself, instead of what can I take away from what I eat, what can I add to what I eat? Now you understand how calories works. This is not necessarily a successful model. But I asked myself the question, what habits can I add so that I can succeed in eating well? Not getting thin, eating well. And what did I realize? I realized that there's a whole bunch of things I'm doing really badly. For example, I don't drink enough water. Culprits of chronic dehydration? Okay, I don't drink enough water. And do you notice then people like drink all day? Yeah, okay, okay, right. I don't drink enough water. What else do I not do? I don't eat enough vegetables. So instead of asking what can I take away from my life, I asked myself a guilty question, which is what can I add to my life? And I started to add good habits to my life instead of taking away bad habits. And a few weeks later, I noticed that I had kind of accidentally dropped some of those bad habits. And I didn't even try, and I didn't even mean to, because I had filled the space with something that was giving me pleasure instead of just taking away something that was giving me pleasure. Now the pleasures were different. One was short term, one was long term. One's healthy, one's not healthy. But in that moment when the body's eating, it's enjoying it. So instead of taking away, I added. And I would like to suggest that when it comes to growth as well, if your whole method, especially by the way when it comes to Judaism, where the concept of abstention and deprivation have really crept in from Christian influences, if you are making yourself more miserable on your growth journey, number one, your body will protect you from misery and it will not endure. Number two, you're doing it wrong. If your Judaism or your growth journey, but specifically if your Judaism is making you more miserable and not more joyful, you have made a mistake in what you're doing. Okay? Got me? Are you struggling with this? Because that sounds like, too yeah, I know, all right. Okay, we'll have to have another class on self-esteem later on. Okay, I hate to break it to you over here, but the God that I know kind of likes us. Jewish God, okay? Likes us enough to make life difficult sometimes, this is true. Believes enough to make life difficult sometimes, but wants us to succeed and to grow. Doesn't want us to be miserable. That is not the point of our existence.
Well, what about just changing your attitude from the story, saying that I know it's uncomfortable, it's maybe not so easy.
Yes.
Whatever's not easy is going to be good for us.
So if you can do that, that's great, but that is hard to maintain. What's easier to maintain and what feels closer to the right kind of growth is to say, my life has been enhanced through this process. I feel better because I drink more. I feel better for drinking more than I felt worse for eating too much. Make sense? Okay? This is supposed to be a process towards something good. This is not Catholicism, with all due respect, but it's not. It's Judaism. We're trying to grow towards something good. So I want to draw it now. How much time do we have? Again, I want to draw a picture of. That worked. Okay. All right. I'll do it underneath. I want you to see what growth doesn't look like. Successful growth doesn't look like, and then I want to show you what successful growth does look like. Okay. Successful growth does not look like this. Boom. Okay. Why? Because what you don't know is that on the other side of the whiteboard, there's a brick wall and a concussion awaiting you. Okay, that's generally what happens. When people do this, there's a brick wall. I've noticed in the Yetzer Hara towards growth, what's the Yetzer Hara? You know, the little angel employed to get in the way of what we're trying to do in life, friends, to get in the way of our greatness. It has two methods. Either don't grow, that's terrifying, don't even start the process, or grow, faster, okay, because neither of those work. Okay, so what does successful growth look like this? I'm going to show you a whole bunch of pieces and you'll see what resonates with you. What's that? Yeah, that's the no growth. That's the education part before the growth. Okay? Take as long as you want. As long as it takes you until something moves you. Okay? And then. Something like that. Okay, now, how do we know? I'll explain it bit by bit. How do we know this has succeeded? Because this is the beginning, and that's the end, and it's moving in the right direction. Okay, it doesn't, that's right, but it's constantly going in that direction. It didn't hit a brick wall and drop down here. Okay, it's okay that in that process there was these dips. That's fine. That's part of growth. What you don't want to do is say, oh, because there was a dip, I give up. A dip is part of growth. In fact, sometimes you've taken on too much, which is why the dip happens. And if that dip is, oh, whoa, slow, I need to take this down a step in order to be able to continue this, then that is your growth. That is what your growth requires of you right now. What do we have in between each stage, you'll notice? Somebody said it before. You said it? We have time. We have time. Okay, you take on something. Why do we want time in between steps?
Get used to it, get comfortable.
To get used to it and get comfortable. Why else?
Internalize.
Yes.
Become like your new baseline.
Yes, and also to savor it. Okay, if you've never had food before, sorry, keep on getting back to food, you'll notice it's a theme, but there we go, okay. If you've never had food before, the way to learn food is not to have a big table with everything on it, you know, the sweet and the savory and the hot and the cold and the spicy and the sour, and just put it all in your mouth in one time. Okay, that's not going to bring you any form of joy. You need to know sweet. You need to see how it sits with you. You need to enjoy the effect of the energy that sugar can give you. And then you need to experience warmth or cooked or whatever it is. Each one is a different experience. The way that we look at a mitzvah, an obligation, see what a nice word that is it's a connection to God, it's a connection to self. You need to know how that's impacting you. You need to let that make your life feel better. That's a process so that you could enjoy that before you're ready for the next step. I had a friend, we had a fight. It wasn't a bad fight, I'm a nice guy, but we had a fight like this. She really, for English standards, she kept nothing. Okay, English people tend to be less assimilated because like they're much more connected to their European backgrounds. So, you know, usually when you meet English people, they've had some kind of like Jewish something going on. But for an English person 20 years ago, she was really, really disconnected Jewishly, which is unusual. Again, because we kind of left Russia or Europe later than you guys did, right? So we've assimilated less than you on the whole. And she went onto a learning program and she was immensely touched by what she learned and she wanted to take something on, okay? So I said to her, well, what really touched you? So she came from an abusive past. So what really touched her was the concept of what we call Shoma Nagia, or Hava Nagila. You may have heard of it, yes? Okay. This idea that your physical boundaries as a woman or a man are really not the right of anybody else of the opposite gender. She couldn't believe, as somebody who had an abusive past, that she had the right to boundaries around her, and she loved this idea of Shoma Nagia. She couldn't pronounce it, but she loved it. So she said to me, I really love that. So I said, okay, well, if that's what brings you joy, if that's what you really connect to, do that. So she said, no, I can't. I said, okay, I understand. Why? So she said, well, you have to understand, I know Jews, okay? I know loads of from Jews. They keep Shabbat, they keep kosher, and none of them are from enough to be Hava Nagila, okay? So I'm gonna come in, you know, with my pork sandwich on Yom Kippur, Shoma Nagia. It's weird. I said, okay, so what's your plan? She's like, well, I guess I have to start with Shabbat or kosher. I'm like, really? And do you connect to Shabbat or kosher? She's like, no, not at all, not a bit. So we had a 3-hour fight. I said, explain this to me. There's 613 connections. You connect to one. You're going to pick one that you don't connect to as your first step? Why would you do that to yourself? Okay? I won. And she went back on campus, you know, in her in her little, you know, shorts and her t-shirt, but like no one's allowed to touch her because she was officially the only Shomanagia Jew in university. But it was something that brought her joy. It was something that she connected to. And the fight was, allow yourself the growth that's going to bring you joy. And she resisted that. I don't know much about Judaism, but I know it's supposed to make me feel guilty. Right? I'm like, no. If you're going to learn this from scratch, let's learn it right. If you don't know much, then whatever you do, let it enhance your life and bring you joy. That's a good thing. That's an okay thing. So this trajectory goes like this. Every so often, there is a big step, okay? But the big steps are generally things that feel so right at the time that they didn't even feel difficult, because the idea of not doing them doesn't feel right. Okay, those are the ones where your body is so ready for it, it's asking you to do it. You feel it's ready. It's that time where you've been keeping 3 out of 4 of your Shabbats, and the one that you're not keeping is the one that's making you most miserable in the month. When you hit that stage, it's time to keep Shabbat. Okay? And it doesn't matter how long that takes. That's a personal journey. Okay, so this idea that it's supposed to be giving something back to me because God has made me for my own pleasure. And that the joy of Judaism it is part of Jewish understanding. If you don't understand the joy of Judaism, you have to go back to ABCs on what the whole concept is about. If it brings you joy and it brings more to your life, then you're going to want to sustain it because it's working for all of you, your body and your soul. So when I have people who say to me, I really want to, change the way that I eat or dress or Shabbat or whatever, I say to them, hold on, you've got to create a setup that is a bribe to your body. If you used to look good in your jeans, don't change how you dress until you've earned enough money to go shopping for cool skirts, okay? And if you used to really enjoy your weekends, it's not going to last very long if the Shabbat experience is now, I sat at home and didn't do anything. It was so spiritual. I gained so much from not smoking and not watching TV and not being on my phone and watching all my friends go out and have so much fun without me. My soul was on fire. You can't even feel your soul. You just feel your body saying, I hate this, okay? It doesn't last long. If you want Shabbat to work, don't keep every Shabbat. Keep every 8 and go to someone's house and have the best time ever until you want to keep another one. Make it work for you and don't feel guilty that it's working for you. This is the body and soul partnership. Your body isn't into this. You need to bribe it. Us religious parents spend a lot of time and money bribing our children into liking Shabbat because it's effectively a very boring day. So what do? We buy them toys and games and clothes and why? Because we need to bribe them into liking it because it's our responsibility. It's called brainwashing. That's what we do as parents, okay? We brainwash our children into liking Shabbat because if they thought about it, they probably wouldn't. Because it's not cool to be 8 and not be allowed to watch or play or be on the computer, okay? You have to do that with your own body. My body in the end will enjoy this because it's going to be good for me, but I have to invite it into the experience. If not, it's not going to sustain itself. Okay, questions so far? Yes.
This idea works really well when you're talking about yourself.
Yes.
But if you're a family or a couple,
Yes.
somebody else along for the ride. And you
Yes.
can't, I know with my own family.
Yes.
Like sometimes your own personal growth could
Yes.
be on a different trajectory. You have to sort of hold it back.
Totally.
So how does that?
It's the same thing. My kids and my husband need to turn around and say, this is working for me. I'll tell you a story. I have a student. She was very, very, very slow about her growth. She did a lot of learning before she did any moving, which was great and it worked for her. And in the end, she really did a lot of changes in her life. What was fascinating about her was that her family also changed. The family that she came from, not even her kids, the family before that. To the point where her father called up my husband and said, I would like to start to have a learning partnership with you. Okay, again, England. This is not open-minded, forward people who like to do things like call the rabbi and ask to learn. These are, polite, suppressed, people who like their lifestyle, okay? And I know from experience, okay? All right. So this guy called my husband and said, can I have a learning partner with you? That had never happened with any of our students before. And he would come over to the house every week, and I was baffled by this. So one day, my husband was late because he has no respect. Only kidding. Okay. For those of you watching on Saturday time, you missed the last class. It was just a joke. My husband's very responsible. Okay. So he was late, and Tony and I were sitting having a coffee, and I said, I have to ask you. It is amazing to see parents who are so supportive of their kids' growth. It's so unusual. What happened? I just need to understand. So Tony says to me, it's quite simple, really. Our Tracy, she was horrible till she became religious, and now she's lovely. What happened to Tracy? Tracy's like, I'm not doing the Shabbos and kosher thing, but you know what? I curse too much, and I don't spend enough time with my sister. I'm rude and ungrateful to my parents. I'm going to start working on my speech, and I'm going to start working on my attitude and my gratitude and my honoring parents. And she didn't do the Shabbat kosher thing because it didn't speak to her. She did that stuff. And what was her parents' experience? They knew nothing about Judaism, but they saw their daughter having a wonderful growth journey. Have you ever had a friend who had a boyfriend or a girlfriend that you didn't meet but you already didn't like? Why?
Because of the change in your life.
Yeah, because they're a mess. They're in the bathroom every day with nervous diarrhea. They're horrible, they're snappy, they can't sleep at night. It doesn't matter how nice the boyfriend or girlfriend is, you're not interested. You know already, okay? If Judaism is making you miserable, you're doing it wrong. And if you're doing it right, it will enhance your life and the people around you's life, okay? Mommy and daddy used to be really nice. Now they scream at me when I bring milk onto the meaty side. Do you love your Judaism? You do not, But Mom and Daddy used to be really nice, and now we get to go and have a really fun Shabbat once in a while at the rabbi's house, and it's so cool, and there's games and sweets, and do you like Shabbat? You do. You understand? You're responsible, if you are the facilitator of your family's growth, to make it work for them. And that doesn't mean you have to do everything. Remember, what is growth? I'm one step further than I was before. If I'm 20 steps further than I was before, that's not growth, that's unreasonable. It's unsustainable. And how long until I get there? There is no there, and there is no deadline on it. It's a continued experience. My life is improving as I become closer to my Creator, closer to my fulfillment, closer to my potential. If that's not the experience, I'm doing something wrong. It doesn't mean every so often that something might be difficult if you make a commitment. It doesn't mean every so often something might be difficult. But if you get into, eating well, sometimes you stretch yourself in an exercise class, that's also okay. It could hurt a little bit afterwards, that's okay. But it feels good. Even when it hurts, it feels right. It feels like you're onto something that is bringing you joy and closeness. If it's not, you've probably missed something. Okay? Now, in terms, I want to address something else that comes up a lot when people are growing, and this is more specifically in the Jewish growth realm. People struggle a lot, apart from their intimate families, with family or friends. So I would like to address that a little bit. Like it was said yesterday in the panel, I think it's very true. The people that will give you the hardest time are the people that are most threatened by your journey. Okay, and just be surprised. Be prepared to be surprised. Be prepared to be surprised by the people who say, this is wonderful, this is great, I'm so proud of you, fantastic. And the people who say, you don't make me look good anymore. You don't make me feel good anymore. Okay, I was amazed as a kid when I was growing, the reaction from my friends, the reaction from my friends, the people who I didn't even think cared about me, who were just like, I'm really proud of you, versus the reaction from the other people who were like, you're not useful anymore. You're not useful.
It's a very hard word.
Yes. You don't make me feel good. You don't hang out with me. That's true of friends. But it's family, it's different. Okay? What's the difference with family? What?
You can't cut them out.
Yes, number one. Number two, nor should you.
You care more about.
Yes.
I
That's
care
right.
about your friend's opinion.
Yes.
But you lose a friend over
Yes.
it.
You lose a friend.
You lose a friend.
When it comes to
Family member,
Nachon.
Years.
That's right. And you shouldn't lose a family member over it. You shouldn't. Family is really important. I always tell people, do not push your mom away. Nobody else will be your mom. Don't imagine that any of your big promises from all your big rabbits are going to take over from your mom. Your mom will be there when you're having a baby, not your friends that you met on the trip. Like, it's your mom. Like, don't push your mom away, okay? But with friends, family, it's slightly different generally. Again, I'm generalizing. What's the difference? Number one, they're nervous. They're nervous. What are you doing? Number two, they are scared of alienation from you. And number three, they feel the pain of rejection. With your siblings, it's the rejection of just, how you do things and whether you're still going to be willing to go to a football game with them, or whether if they want to hang out with you, they're going to have to pray, With your parents, it's that, for those of you for whom this is relevant, it's that horrible feeling of, if you've made big changes in your life, what I offered you clearly wasn't good enough. That's a painful thing, even when you want your children to grow and change. Even when you want your children to grow and change, the fact that there was something that they found that you hadn't offered them makes you feel like you failed. And I always tell people, don't be scared to articulate gratitude and love and closeness. Tell your families and your friends, your families particularly, you mean the world to me. I have no intention of losing my relationship over you. And you have to make the effort to make up for any tension you put on the relationship. If your family goes to the beach on a Shabbat morning and you can't get in the car now, then you have to take them all out for coffee on a Sunday, so you spend time with them. They didn't do anything wrong. They're just doing what they always did. You're the weird one who changed. You have to make up for that. And you can tell your family members also, and this is true very often, I'm not rejecting your values. It's because of your values that I have the courage to make the life that I want to make for myself. You taught me truth. You taught me authenticity. You taught me integrity. You taught me growth. I will draw my own conclusion with that. I will draw my own picture with the paints that you gave me, Mom and Dad, because that's usually the truth. And as a parent, I don't know how many people here are parents of kids. Isn't it torturous when your kids start doing their own thing? I really want you to do your own thing, son, until you do your own thing. Right? It's torturous. And then you recognize that, again, they are drawing a new picture with the tools that you provided for them. And then you look back and you say, wow, not only did I give you the tools, but I gave you the confidence to draw your own picture. That's beautiful, but that's a process that takes time. It's an uncomfortable process, but articulate that. Articulate that, yes, I'm making changes, but I want to keep you close because you mean more to me than anything else does in the whole world. Yes, I'm making changes, but don't think I'm changing away from you. I'm changing thanks to you. Yes, I'm making changes. Yeah, and I may have to eat off plastics, but I'll be eating in your home, Mom. Okay? Jewish mothers always like to feed their children. This is a very sore topic. But how about, I'll get the stuff, because I'm really sorry that I'm bothering you with this, and let's cook together anyway, because you know that you can buy kosher turkey for Thanksgiving? Let's do it together. How do you feel about that? Okay? Nobody wants to lose someone that they love. And no one should lose someone that they love to God or religion. If you have a situation where family members are toxic and you need to create distance, that's got nothing to do with religion. That's true anyway. But if you have close, loving relationships, it's your job to put the effort into that closeness of those loving relationships, because you're the one who created the tension. Okay? And if you're making changes in your family, do not blame your kids for not being excited about going to shul. Torture by boredom. Yay! Who wants to watch TV? We can go listen to a sermon. Woohoo! You understand? Okay, you have to make it.
Even though we're grown up with it, children don't like to go to shul.
That's right. 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 And that's right. Of course not. It's very boring. And back in the day, we were, kids were very disciplined. They kind of just did what they were told to do. Now they do what they want to do a little bit more. So you have to make sure that their growth is falling into their definition of what they want to do to some degree. It's got to be something worth their while. You wanted to say something?
I was going to say my daughter
Yes.
from, and she didn't tell me for a while.
Yeah.
She was away at college, and she called me and she said to me, and I said, that is wonderful. I keep kosher at home.
Wow.
I'm still not Shomer Shabbos, but I said, that's beautiful. She was quiet for a minute, And I could hear tears in her voice. She said, because I have a few friends that have called their parents and they said, don't come home. I said, what?
Well done, Mum. Well done, Mum.
And I
done.
I couldn't believe it. I'm proud of her. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
child of Holocaust survivors.
Yeah, yeah.
And I said to her, why? I
Yes,
really did want
yes,
to know why.
yes.
And we had lost people in the family. I had an illness. And she said, I needed something, Mom.
Yes.
And she was in Hillel.
Yes.
And she said, I could have gone to drugs. I could have gone to parties.
Yes.
She said, but they drew me in, and the love I felt
Yes.
was the love I could have gotten from you if I was home. But
Yes.
I wasn't.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
And
blessing.
she's pulled me
Yes.
and my husband into
yes.
this journey.
Yes, that's right. That's beautiful. But really, well done for being so open to that, because you are unusual. It's beautiful. You should feel. What a mom! What a mom, everybody! What a mom!
Don't even come home. Because I'm not what you said. I'm
Yes.
not good enough
No.
anymore.
So this is a rule that I learned from a Rabbi Orlowek, and it's a very important rule. Yes, philosophy doesn't get in the way of healthy relationships. If the relationship's healthy anyway, it's not a philosophical thing that's going to get in the way. Sometimes it could be a trigger to the uncovering of an unhealthy situation.
Well,
but
but
you
I also said,
have a healthy
don't-
relationship.
Don't, because I use the dishwasher for meat and dairy, please
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
demean me.
Yes.
So that's,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I respect you, you respect me.
Right.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's perfect.
Okay. The final thing that I want to put in along with this body concept, thank you so much for sharing. It's beautiful, really special. And I hope your daughter knows that she's lucky. I hope she knows.
tell her every day.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. The other piece in this, and this is also really key, and it's really part of the body piece, is community. It was mentioned before. Okay, is community. So did any of you ever watch the documentary, hold on, I'll remember the name, Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead? No? Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead? No, okay. It's an amazing documentary. Anybody hear about juicing? Yes, okay. So juicing is a craze, and it's a craze because of this documentary. This is the documentary that got juicing off the ground, okay? Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead. Okay, said it as it is. Okay, it was a very interesting documentary that followed the lives of people who were committing to make differences in their own health and their own life through juicing. And it's this one loses weight and the miracle story, and as you would expect from a documentary. What was amazing about this documentary is that 5 years later there was a follow-up documentary, which is very brave, because it's very sensationalist to take all the great stories, but he went back to those success stories to see where everybody was doing. And some people had maintained their success, and some people had failed badly, which was a very humble thing, I thought, on the part of the docu, So instead of focusing on food, the guy who was in charge of the documentary focused on something else. What's the difference between those people who maintain it and those people who don't? And he did a lot of psychological studies, and that was the answer: community. This man, credit to him, gave up his business and opened a website to offer community to everybody who was part of his program. Because it's very much easier to do things in the context of people who support you. Community might be where you live. That might mean moving somewhere closer. Community might be virtual. I see lots of amazing virtual communities of people who are supporting each other over WhatsApp. God bless WhatsApp. That drives me crazy on a daily basis. But the support that it offers people who have grown together, who are on a journey together, it's very hard to do things on your own, and we're not necessarily meant to do things on our own. You see in Judaism the incredible amount of value placed on being in a community. If you are on your own, you are relying on your own experience. That is a tough thing. Create community around you. Community means there are other people who are like-minded. They don't have to be the same. They don't have to be the same journey as me, but they understand the process that I'm on. They're supportive of it. I'm there for them in their weak moments, and they are there for me in my weak moments. Because you are allowed weak moments. You just want to be in a situation where those weak moments are the impetus for your next great moments. And it's often friendships that are the turning point between this being a fail and this being part of the learning process. It is often someone turning around and saying to you, it's okay, I blew it too. Let's do this together again. Okay? Find yourselves in whatever your growth is, whether your growth is psychological, physical. People who go to the gym have an easier time exercising than people that, watch Insanity at home, right? It's easier to do it with people who are supporting you and rooting you on. We are a huge, beautiful organism. It's the world, and it breaks down into the Jewish people, and it breaks down into your communities and your tribes. That is how we function. God is one, and we're not one, we're separate. So the equivalent for oneness when we're separate is unification. Unification is what gives us the strength to continue what's good for us. Find yourselves communities, bribe your bodies, learn so that you come to a point where you've had your insight and are not living off the power of somebody else's insight. And if you make sure that your journeys are bringing joy and blessing to your life, you will find that it is not impossible to sustain, because we don't do well with deprivation, we do well with abundance. And I bless us all that we choose our journeys successfully, that we have friends to support us, and we maintain our growth.
Amen.